Welcome to Silver Pros, sponsored by SD Bullion. I'm your host, Yankee Stacking, and I'm joined by my incredible co-host right over there, Silver Dragons.
What's up? Happy to be here.
Hey, today we're talking about our silver forecasts for 2023. What do you think?
Ooh, this is going to be fun.
It
and
is.
and I know you like forecast rather than prediction, right? Because prediction, you're just kind of guessing, but forecast, we're kind of weighing what's happened in the past, what's going on right now, looking at charts and making a more what's the word I'm looking for here?
More educated
Educated.
guess. It is still a guess, guys. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's coming, and it's important to say that here. This is for fun, and at the very end, we'll give you our spot price amount, right?
Yeah, an exact number that we think silver's going to be at the end of 2023. So you can hold us to that. Maybe we'll be completely off.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get it spot on. Spot on.
Cute.
We'll
Really
have to
cute.
wait and see. But all right, what are we doing here, Yankee? What's the
well?
first
Let's
stop?
just rip through these different factors. Okay, the first one I think is important to talk about is recession. All right, I am convinced that we are going to see the real recession, SD, in 2023.
You mean because we're not already in a recession?
We are, but it's really going to sink its claws in my opinion, in 2023. And I'm not alone in thinking that. A lot of CEOs, like Jeff Bezos. I mean, did you read what he said? How we should be preparing for the worst? Here's a guy trying to sell flat screen TVs, and he's telling people to hold off on buying flat screen TVs.
The big tech companies are laying people off, and it's like they're laying them off right before the holidays too, which is a little strange, but I mean, they know it's coming.
Yeah, they do. And here's the first chart that I want to show people. It is the U.S. recession probability model. Every time this model predicts that there's going to be a recession, it has been really, really close. The probability model from the conference board, this is where it comes from, was at 96% that we were going to have a recession.
I mean, we're already in one, Yankee. We know it's coming.
I know we are. This is something I really want to show you. The yield curve, okay? When it steepens, and that means when the normal time value of money gets all screwed up, every single time there's been a recession, we have seen this yield curve steepening. Another indicator that recession is on the way. This is the global 2-year and 10-year yield curve spread. Not just in the United States. It has never been below zero in the history of this chart.
So global recession.
Right.
Wow. So when we think of recession, we think of people getting laid off, not spending as much money. Everyone's kind of saving. And, the thing with silver is it's a monetary metal, but it's also an industrial metal, right? If production slows down on all these products that need silver, that will definitely have an effect on silver spot price.
Can I show you a chart on that really quick?
Please.
All right. This is something I've shared before, but look what silver has done over just the past 2 recessions, not counting the one we're in right now.
It goes down initially.
Significantly. Like in the 2008 recession, we're talking 50%. That's important to remember because of what you said, industrial use. But look what happens after the recession.
Yeah, the rally.
The rally, exactly.
If we do go into this sort of classical recession where we see all the layoffs and stuff like that, I really don't feel like the Fed is going to be able to keep up the rates, right? I mean, right now they're coming up on 4%. And so if we see rates start going down, that is so bullish for silver. I mean, that's like it's going to start taking off at that point. And one thing that I want to bring up that I talked about in a previous video, Yankee, every time we see the rate drop by 1%, gold historically goes up 19%, and silver goes up even more. So if we see them cut rates back down to 0 again, then my goodness, I mean, we could see gold double, we could see silver triple, and obviously this is probably not all going to happen next year. I mean, maybe we might see it start to happen, but this could be a 2, 3, 4, 5 year thing. But But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, this whole recession ultimately would be bullish for silver.
The Fed, let's talk about that for a minute too. Isn't it amazing that one person can stand up in front of a microphone, say a few words, and the markets react so violently? Yeah.
Everyone's listening to Jerome Powell. They want to know if we're going to see the pivot. They want to see if the Fed is going to react to all of the unemployment figures and things like that. They really want to know, are we going to see that 50 basis point rate hike in December? Because then the pivot will have officially started, right? So
a soft pivot, right? He's saying we had to stay the course. Inflation's going to get beaten down. Then the moment he says, but we might not need to raise it quite as much in December. Boom.
They loved that.
They loved it. It
was immediate. So, okay, let me bring this up, Yankee. Most of us know silver is does the opposite of whatever the dollar does, right? You call it an inverse correlation, call it whatever you want. But basically, when the dollar is strong, silver is relatively weak. Mm-hmm. When the dollar is weak, silver is relatively strong. So do you feel like right now we're kind of seeing the dollar peak?
I think you're right. I think we may have seen the peak. And as that dollar drops, I think that's going to be also bullish for silver.
Extremely bullish. I mean, that's going to be when we see silver just rally. Definitely bullish for silver. But I mean, the thing to kind of keep your eye on is how long is this recession going to last, right? Because if this is a really long, drawn-out recession, once they start cutting rates, that's when we could really see the dollar tank, right? If it goes rates back to zero, dollar tank. So is that going to be next year? That's the thing. Or are they just going to leave rates where they're at? Because once they pivot, I mean, there's if they do a 50 basis point rate hike, rates are still going up. It's just not up as fast, right? So there's kind of a lot to factor in.
Let's talk one more factor: fiscal policy next year. Okay, our government and what it does with spending. They're out of control. That's not a shock to anybody listening to us. But I don't think that's going to change. Even with the midterm results that we had, it's not going to stop. Let me give you one example. The housing bubble we're in. Mortgage rates, with rates rising, are just pricing out buyers, especially the younger buyers.
Right.
Just this week, the Biden administration announced that they were going to be guaranteeing $1 million mortgages. They've never done that before. They've never done this before. The government told the FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, I think that's what it's called, to increase the maximum size of mortgages for Freddie and Fannie to cover $1 million jumbo mortgages. And it's just an example of crazy fiscal policy. And frankly, it's either party, by the way. It's both sides of the aisle, right? Okay, let's be fair here. We need cuts in spending, and that is not what we're doing.
Look, you and me, Yankee, we both agree they're spending way too much. And like you said, regardless of what party's in there, they're going to be spending the money either way. It's just what are they spending it on, right?
One last thing on this is the debt. Let me share you one more chart. Mm-hmm. And this is why I think we're trapped, the Fed specifically. When they raised interest rates so high back in the 70s, the Fed, Volcker, it was a lot easier to do that when your debt was a lot smaller. We do not have that luxury. We are in a deep, deep hole because of that debt. And that's why they can't raise rates like they did before. They can't fight inflation.
Right, because if they're trying to fight inflation and have businesses take out less loans, which will create less currency, et cetera, the rates go up, but they have to pay those higher rates themselves, right? So it's not just the businesses, it's not the individual trying to buy a house, it's the government that has to pay more for their loans.
And they usually buy them in short durations. So that's why when these rates change, it really affects us. This is huge. We're not going to be able to service the debt like this. So again, that's the fiscal policy side. But one more thing we want to talk about, right? It's the supply and demand that we think we might be seeing next year.
Okay, here's kind of the breakdown that I see. As far as supply, the mints, they kind of slowed down. The U.S. Mint in particular slowed down a lot in 2022. I think this is going to carry right on into 2023. And this is when we talk about supply, for me, I'm talking about physical bullion that you can buy for silver stacking, silver investing. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not really
retail
talking
silver, retail
retail silver supply, because this is, if you want to get into silver, me and Yankee, we both stack silver, we buy lots of it. This is what you'd be purchasing, right? So this is the supply that you care about.
Right.
So the U.S. Mint, I think they're going to be even worse in 2023. So I feel like buying any products from them, American Silver Eagles, it's just not going to happen. But other silver products, man, I think the demand is high, Yankee. I think demand is high, and if we do see silver price go even lower, perhaps at the start of the year, once the recession gets more underway, I feel like demand will just pick up. And here's the thing: let's say, so silver right now is at $22, $23. Let's say the price of silver goes down $5. It's very possible we could see premiums go up $6. So you're in fact paying more for your silver, even though the price, quote unquote, went down. And this is, supply and demand. Some people think, it's a scam. They're just raising premiums. If they got no product, they're going to jack up the price. Period.
It's frustrating. It's also inflation. Think about it that way. The real price of silver, what is it and why? I think it's the inflation having its effect on that price.
I don't know that we've talked about it on the show so much, but the cost to mine silver has gone up with inflation, right? And I look at that as the absolute bottom that silver could hit, like the lowest number we could really ever see silver at.
Right.
It was around $10 to $12, 5 years ago. Now it's like $15, $16 is the cost to mine it, because cost of diesel's gone up and all these other things.
All in sustaining costs, everything.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So the bottom silver could ever go, year after year is going up and up and up with inflation. And so, for me, silver's a long-term thing. I don't plan on selling it for the next 30 years. And so, I'm happy to stack these prices. I feel like I'm getting a good deal still when I buy silver right now.
Low supply, high demand for physical silver is obviously bullish, right?
Yes.
Let's give our forecasts.
Okay. I actually did a video just a few days ago, and I called it my silver price prediction for 2023, but this is the number that I'm predicting for the end of the year. We will see silver at $32.33. Exactly. And I do think that we will actually see silver price dip Q1, Q2, 2023. I think there'll be another chance to buy in. I mean, I'd say start buying now, but I think price will initially go down, and then towards the end of the year, I do see a rally moving into 2024, 2025, and I think it's really going to take off after that point. So what's your prediction, Yankee?
All right, I'm going to give you a graph. Using some of the factors of past recessions, I'm going to give you my forecast, and there it is right there. So I think they're going to say, oh, yeah, we are in a recession. Shoot, we've been in a recession since 2022. I think Q4 is going to be horrible GDP. I think we'll hit 25. That's a conservative guess by the end of 2023. Do you notice what I did after that, though?
It's basically a straight line up.
I think it's going to go way up. I think we break the 50 mark at some point within maybe a year after the recession actually ends.
Yeah, if you look on that chart back in 2008, we saw it go down 50%, down to $10 an ounce, and then it went to 50. Yep. So it 5x'd from the bottom. So if the bottom is 20 this time around, and we see a 5x from there, that will be $100 silver in 2025.
Okay. Wow.
So 2020, if history repeats itself. But I honestly feel like I mean, these numbers that people are putting out, $100,000, $500,000 silver, nothing's off the table, because with this inflation we're seeing, things could get really bad really fast. So
I agree. All right, well, that's it. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time on Silver Pros.
Stack like a pro.